Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning or this evening in the Northern Hemisphere? My name's Linda. I'm your trauma recovery coach, and welcome to From Recovery to Remission this morning. It's Friday. Yay! Welcome. Say good day if you're here and here live, and if you're here for the replay, remember to do a hashtag replay so I can say good day too. Good morning, Rachel. How are you? How's your week been? It must have been massive for you with all the information. We've had regulars come this week, and it's just been amazing sharing information with all of you and knowing that it's helping you, and especially with older people. Well, we are older, just more mature in age. Good morning, Brooke. To have answers that we've never had before as well. And especially because it's taken time to get the language around the neurobiology, which then is able to give us language around what's happening internally. Oh my goodness, can you tell it's winter in Australia? Here's me. Oh my goodness. Tissues galore. It's like, oh, you're welcome. Good morning. Sorry. Good morning, Ali. You must have learned a lot this week. And I saw your post in group too. How amazing. You got the book. Isn't it awesome? It's the best start to the day. For those that haven't been here this week, we're talking about this book, Jesus Calling, written by an American lady who was living in Australia at one point and was very ill with autoimmune disease and more. And then there's a big story behind it. And she had to go back to America for treatment because we don't have a lot. We don't have a lot of what America has here because we don't have the high population density as well. So we're obviously not breeding like rabbits, maybe? No, I kid. We're just, because we're so far away and not connected into the mainland, people that come here, it's either a very conscious decision or in the old days they just didn't have a choice, they got sent here. So we just don't have the high population density. And what she did when she was very, very ill, and she wrote this book, I don't know if you can see it very well, the title, Jesus Calling, and it's enjoying peace in his presence. And it really has helped me understand things in a whole heartfelt way. And I just love it because you can pick it up and you can go, yeah, I can see how it relates to my life today, what I need today. It's definitely not, there is nothing that I share with you that's spiritual, that it's my way or the highway. It'll never be that because I wasn't raised a Christian. And so, excuse me, if anyone ever says to me, this is the way it is and that's how it is, then as far as I'm concerned, they don't know God personally. Because one day when I share even the highlights of my life and my journey with him, you can see that there's no way you can put God in a box. Good morning, Diana. And anyone who puts God in a box, well, they're just saying he's dead and that he fits in their finite mind. It's never going to happen. So, having started off on a whole different direction this morning, girls. Good morning, Anne. Anne says hello to everyone. I want to share with you this morning some core information about who I am. Now, I'm not going to talk about who I am. I'm going to give you core information that will, yes, I have a cold, but that's okay. It's good. Cold is good. It means it's all coming out. Okay, now I'm going to focus because it's Friday and you know, we're all celebrating that tomorrow's Saturday. Now, I'm going to give you core information around the subject of who am I, okay, in order that it begins the process of you getting to understand who I am, as in who you are. Because sexual abuse takes that away from us. It takes away the process of us being able to be curious about life. So one thing that we need to get back is being curious about life. We need to get back our ability to be playful, all right? Because often it takes away our ability to be playful. So curiosity and playfulness. And think about, as when we're kids, you know, kids who are allowed to be kids and haven't been through a lot, they have a real wonder about the world. So a real, wow, you know, this is the world, and they want to go on adventures and explore and, you know, etc., etc., etc. And even if that's just adventuring with and playing with toys at home and using their imagination, it's all healthy, and they go through that process of learning it, and it connects into their core of who I am and stays with them forever. So now we, and it's not easy, let me tell you, when it hasn't been wired into us as children, everything we do is more extensive than what other adults do. And that's okay, because they face their own challenges. So, without further ado, let me bring up the first infographic. Now, these infographics will be in today's book release, okay, so that you are able to sit and read them and ponder on them, but I need to show them to you this morning so that you get a real visual of what I'm talking about. Now, this is important to understand, all right? Very, very important, because this doesn't just affect us as in sexual abuse, of children of sexual abuse, adult children of sexual abuse. It also does affect the generations that have gone before us, because they've never had language, they've never had the ability to talk about how they feel, okay? So generations prior to me, backwards, and oftentimes the generation that my children are in, adults are only now learning that they need to equip their children emotionally with emotional intelligence. I was fortunate to start this over 30 years ago, so my kids are equipped with it. But for us, all right, this is just for us. When we're born, all right, we're born with our core self. We're born with our authentic self, who we really are, the answer to who I am. And, you know, it develops throughout our whole life, all right? Circumstances, our upbringing, and so much more. All the elements of life get added in and included in to form parts of who I am. Plus, you know, as we go through life, we define our own values. So my values are very different to somebody who hasn't been through sexual abuse. They can be similar, but I feel mine, and I'm very adamant is the word about my values. I know who I am and what my values are. My character gets formed through adversity. Personality traits, I think they're wired in, and so much more, all right, comes with our authentic self. But what happens is, over time, right, through adverse childhood experiences, in this case we're talking about sexual abuse, layer upon layer upon layer, and I meant to get my damn onion picture out. Actually, I was going to get an onion cut in half and show you how finite just about. The layers are like they're infinite layers. If you cut open an onion and try to work out all the layers, it's really hard. We get further away from our core self. We get further away from that sense, the all-pervading sense of knowing who I am, until we're left with the question, who am I? Why am I here? And this happened for me even though I didn't retain the memories of the childhood sexual abuse. They came up later in my life. However, the quest to understand who I am and why I'm here led me down an amazing road. And I didn't have this information at the time. So when we've had complex trauma, we feel powerless to control circumstances or events in our life. And this is as adults, okay? There are circumstances or events that intensely frightens us, and this was in childhood that separated us more and more from our authentic self. The circumstances or events that happened changed our beliefs about ourselves, about the world around us, and about our interactions with that world, all right? So when you get the book, remember there's 3 things that got changed, and those 3 things are what we can focus on being aware of, building an awareness of, so that we can turn them around. And as we've been moved further away from knowing who I am, my core authentic self, we're left with the feelings of I'm to blame, I'm worthless, and there's a third one that just went straight out of my head, but they're all absorbed into I am powerless, and I will include them in the booklet this morning. Now, the next part that I want to show you is this. This is all I didn't even have this to work with in the beginning, but I don't know if you can read the writing. I'll have to make the writing more succinct for you. Now, this is looking at us as a person from the outside in. So our external layer is our body. It's the physical layer, right? That's the first layer that we need to address. Usually it's the one we're most conscious of. And we're looking at the world externally. Every response that we have is to the external world. And it's not till later we recognize that we've had a reaction or response that reflects the external world, like the events that are happening. We respond to the events rather than being centered in who I am and what I want to do and where I want to go with these events, how I feel about them. We actually respond from a place of fear where we mold ourselves to the people and circumstances around us in order that we are not seen, or in order that we fit in and we're safe, okay? And we operate out of that mode until we build an awareness around it. The next level in is our soul. So it's our mind, our will, our emotions, all right? So once we start going internally to look at who I am, these are the bits and pieces, powerful bits and pieces, that we're going to be taking a look at: our mind, our will, and our emotions, and where we're apportioning it daily, all right? What are we doing or saying that doesn't reflect the core of who I am, my authentic self? So if we say we're in a situation, there's a few people around and we know that they just want to hear X, Y, and Z from us, we'll give them that, but we'll walk away feeling like, I really wasn't able to voice who I am in this situation. And using our voice is absolutely one of the crucial things that we learn to do. Okay, we don't know how to do it, but we will learn to do and experiment with. as we go through the process of healing from childhood sexual abuse. Also around the body area, I want you to include all your senses, okay? Because it's our eyesight that goes back into the primitive part of our brain and triggers the fear response that's embedded in there from childhood. So in the primitive part of our brain, when we've experienced adverse childhood experiences, we develop a fear response to everything, and it's totally unconscious, all right? It is totally out of our control. We had nothing to do with it. It was the external that developed it in us. And the opposite of that is people who've not experienced adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, then their first response when a problem comes up in adult life is and it's unconscious, they don't automatically think, oh, this is manageable, but their automatic response to, oh, this is manageable, let's sort it out. Okay, it's very different to what we were wired with, all right? So then after we go down into our soul, now our soul, in order to go deeper than our soul, we go down through our heart center, all right? We don't go down through our brain or our mind, because our mind, and if we look at it, the prefrontal cortex, it has order, it has logic, and that's not going to help us go deeper into our spirit, our breath, all right? And this is why breath is so, so important in our recovery process, is it helps us go deeper than what is known currently in our life, all right? Now, here's the hard part, all right? With childhood sexual abuse, it actually comes down to the inner core of our being, our spirit, and it's like an infection in our spirit. That is the best way that I can explain it, because that's how the Lord explained it to me. That's the vision I had. It's just like an infection in our spirit, and it's challenging because it keeps pushing. It's like, this alarm keeps going off all the time, and we keep responding in the same manner until we become aware of this factor, all right? And down further, deeper, is the Holy Spirit. So for those who are of faith, that's how we go down through the layers to get to the Holy Spirit, and we use it by quietening our mind, all right? So getting rid of the white noise out of our mind. We can place our hand on our heart and breathe deeply, and we can develop that awareness, that deep awareness within ourselves, all right? I'm not going to spend a lot of time there, not because it's not necessary, but basically when we're beginning the healing journey, we need to be working up at the body level, because that's where our senses are, developing an awareness of our body and when it tightens up, and of our mind, will, and emotions. They're the primary parts that we need to begin looking at in order that we can build a deeper awareness and go deeper within ourselves and feel safe to do so, all right? We've got to have in those levels of awareness of what we feel safe to do, what we feel safe to begin having the courage to do, and then in order to develop or increase our feeling of safety, we need to take steps that are outside our comfort zones. So for those of you in group who read my post about going to the new gym the first time this week, that is why we do this work, so that we can begin having new experiences. And even though our brain in the primitive part is wired that when there's a whole new area, like, I walked into a bathroom area where the lockers were, and the sights are new, the sound is new, the smells are new, everything I touch is new, then the trigger developed in the primitive part of my brain is going to go off whether I like it or not, because that's what was developed in my childhood. However, when I finally got to a bike and, I was perspiring and, it looked like I'd already had a workout and hadn't lifted a finger, I was able to still keep getting on the bike. I was able to do a workout. I was able to do a breathing technique that I developed on the spot to work through the trigger that had happened. Now, I'm not talking about just an emotional trigger, I feel depressed or I feel anxious. I'm talking about triggers that happen at the neurobiological level that are not conscious to us, but we can begin to become aware of when they're likely to happen and put into place whatever we need, whatever we know, that will make it easier for us when we go into a new situation. So the next day I went, okay, what's it going to take to make it easier for me to go back today? So I ran through the process in my mind, what I do, and I did two things different. I wore a light coat over myself so that I would feel comfortable, I wouldn't feel exposed, right? And this is where we can have battles with ourselves, because we're saying, well, I shouldn't feel like that. I'm an adult. I shouldn't feel like that. Well, we need to get over that attitude and go, it's okay, I feel like that, and I can do things to manage this. So I put a coat over my, it's only light, it's see-through, but it just made me feel comfortable walking in and confident. Walked in, did the locker thing, walked out, went straight to the area I wanted to, and I felt great and got on with it. No trigger, no nothing. And that's why we push through and develop the courage and develop the techniques so that we can do this and go into new experiences knowing that we can manage it, even though a part of our brain is going to want to go, did you ever see that? The young ones won't have seen it, but there used to be a show, I think it was 60s, early 70s, and it was the Robinson family crashed in space, and they had a robot, and every time the young boy was in danger, the robot arms had flailed and going, danger, Will Robinson, danger. And sometimes I feel that's just what our brain is saying to us, danger, danger, even though we're adults and there's no danger, but we can learn to work with it and manage it so that, and when we're solidified in who I am, we know what we're capable of doing too. So I know this is only just a basic framework, but I will put questions in the book for you to work with so that you can work towards becoming aware of when the different things happen, and that you can work towards developing how you want to manage things. And that's even how we want to manage when we're around people that are difficult for us, how we want to manage doing something new, how we want to be able to verbalize what's happening for us, but also be open to, I want to change up what's happening for me as well. So in Linda world, you're proactive, okay? You're not allowed to go, well, this is happening to me, it's out of my control, and I can't do anything about it, because that's rubbish, okay? Then you're telling yourself fibs, and you're not allowed to do that. Well, of course you can go and do it, but, this time next year you'll still be in the same space, and that's the bigger question is, do you want to be in the same space this time next year, or do you want to have begun to reclaim your life in a way that is very authentic to you and very, this is who I am, and know that as you go through the process of regaining your authentic self and reclaiming your authentic self, that you do become stronger in the world, okay? And that changes a whole lot of dynamics around you, okay? So over here in Linda World, we do things proactive. We're proactive in our approach to becoming well, and even our inner programming, we're compassionate towards ourselves. Knowing that these things will happen, we have compassion because it's out of our control. Unlike me, who, you know, got really frustrated at gym initially. I'm like, oh man, really? Again? But I did turn it around, and I did slow down, and I did have compassion and say, right, this is how I want to approach this for my life. I want my life back. At the end of the day, I want my full life back that I haven't even experienced before. And I know that you do too, internally, you want that as well. Diana said, even though I was not physically abused sexually, I was emotionally abused and mentally with sexual intent. What? Yeah. Yeah. That's right, Diana. And I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but I did say what I talked about today would reflect for every form of abuse, not just sexual abuse. It's just a sexual abuse that took it to a deeper level, which I explained with the chat through who I am. Will this book be beneficial? It seems like it makes sense. Yeah. It's all the videos from this week. It's a whole lot of questions for you to reflect on. So you watch the video, you reflect on the questions, you then take your answers to a therapist or a trauma coach, and you develop strategies around becoming more of who I am and my authentic self, reclaiming my authentic self, because this is what we want to do, okay? This is the first part of the work that we do. And then the second part of the work we do is we move into why am I here? So the process of returning to my authentic self actually unpacks why I'm here as well. Okay, thank you girls for joining in. It's been the most amazing morning and the most amazing week of discovery through it all. Okay, we've shared so much together and discovered so much, and I will happily keep on sharing information around it if that's what you need as well, because I want you all to be able to be well, to be able to be your authentic self, and to fully carry out, you know, the reason why you're here. That's why I pursued this over 30 years ago. I started this because I wanted to know who am I? Why am I here? There has to be a reason for everything I've been through. And that was just when I was 20. You know, so now, you know, as most of you know, I lost everything because of complex trauma being undiagnosed in my life. And yeah, it was, I lost the ability to walk on my own, to talk, to take care of myself, and needed a full-time carer. So this work is at the core of my work, and the course that I'm currently putting into a new format, Awakening Your Soul, is the course that helped me go within and get my answers out from within as well. Okay, have a great day, girls. Great sleep, and I will see you again Monday morning. Thanks for sharing. Bye for now.